lightning speed, unreal strength, and unbridled aggression. All these qualities helped Mike Tyson become one of the most fearsome champions in the history of boxing, who with just a glance made his opponents tremble with fear. Tyson's character was forged by the meanest streets of Brooklyn, New York. Before reaching his 14th birthday, Tyson was already arrested 38 times. Mike transferred his unbridled and intimidating character to professional boxing. Iron Mike often had no control over his aggression, and this periodically led to chaos both inside and outside the ring. In this video, we're going to discuss a specific situation where Mike Tyson completely lost his self-control during a fight and managed to lose his boxing license for a prolonged period to boot. Moreover, this was the fight that ended Tyson's decade-long domination of the boxing world, and once he did return, he would never be able to return to his former peak form.
Let's get ready to rumble!
I come to win, and there's no doubt about it.
Got nothing coming. I'ma like this. I'm gonna have a good time this fight.
The story we will discuss today bears its roots back in 1996, when the then reigning world boxing champion Iron Mike and title contender Evander Holyfield met in the ring for the first time to determine who would bear the championship belt. The fight caused quite a buzz in the boxing world, as both fighters were formidable opponents who were widely thundered in the news and were considered best in the world amongst heavyweights. Another hype factor surrounding the fight was the fact that the first fight between Tyson and Holyfield was supposed to have happened 6 years ago, but Tyson managed to somehow lose to Buster Douglas miraculously, producing the biggest sensation of the decade.
Time in his career, Mike Tyson hits the canvas. He's in big trouble. He's not gonna make it.
So, instead of fighting Iron Mike, Holyfield had to fight Buster Douglas for the title, and after winning the fight handily, became the undisputed world champion. Evander, however, did not receive deserved recognition or fame for the fight, as everyone still considered Mike Tyson to be the real champion, and his defeat to be a fluke. The only way for Holyfield to prove to everyone that he was the real champion was to beat Tyson. The fight was scheduled for the 8th of November, 1991. And the boxers even managed to attend a press conference where they were most respectful of each other. But just a few weeks before the fight, Tyson suffered a rib injury and after was convicted of raping Desiree Washington. Released in March 1995, it didn't take long for Iron Mike to reclaim his lost belts, steamrolling through several prominent boxers along the way, including Frank Bruno and Bruce Sheldon. Despite his victories, everyone could see that Tyson was not the same Mike that destroyed everyone at the end of the 80s.
I'm in great shape, I'm ready, and I'm looking forward to this.
The long-awaited fight with Holyfield took place in 1996. Holyfield was long considered washed up, with the odds makers initially installing him as an incredible 25-1 underdog, and for good reason. Several of Evander's previous fights were disasters, and he was already 34 years old, so it was natural for everyone to look at his chance to win with skepticism. Many were also deeply concerned for Holyfield's health, with the Nevada State Athletic Commission ordering a full battery of medical tests before allowing him to enter the ring. If they only knew what would go down on that fateful evening of 1996, they would have been much more concerned for Tyson's health, as this fight would enter the history of boxing. On November 9, 1996, in Las Vegas, Nevada, Tyson faced Holyfield in a title match that was aptly dubbed Finally. At the time, the Tyson-Holyfield fight became the highest-grossing match in boxing history. Most of the audience was convinced that Mike would mangle Holyfield in the first few rounds. It seemed that Tyson knew exactly that this was what the crowd wanted, and rushed Holyfield for the first few seconds, raining down a hail of powerful combinations. But Holyfield not only managed to defend himself well enough, but composed himself and landed a few successful shots of his own. No one could believe their eyes, but Evander Holyfield was noticeably superior to Mike in physical strength. He easily manhandled Tyson onto the ropes and was not afraid to trade blows. It was obvious from the get-go that his opponent's reputation did not faze Evander in the slightest. The second round became even more interesting than the first. Mike Tyson ended up defeating himself with his back pressed against the ropes, which was unimaginable a few years ago, and missed a clear left hook from Holyfield.
Tyson against the ropes.
I'll tell you what, the crowd thought that Mike was hurt. Looks like a good shot.
Combination by Holyfield to the head of Tyson.
By the third round, the fight became a meat grinder. In such fights, endurance and physical preparation play a key role. Not that Tyson had a problem with those, but it seems that he didn't even expect Evander to be so mentally strong and to match the tempo Tyson set from the first few seconds. Additionally, Holyfield skillfully handled Tyson in the clinch, wearing him down. Holyfield's confidence only grew as he continued to exploit his advantages in height, reach, and physical strength while mixing in a few headbutts for good measure.
Strength is going to be a big factor in this type of fight, too. Evander can't keep wrestling with Mike all day and still be effective enough and strong enough later on. Badly, or they let him have something around.
Good combination, fast, out-slick him.
Quickly tying him up as he comes in. Straight left hand there by Tyson, but a glancing look. Out comes Holyfield.
I think Tyson's got to get back into his rhythm again.
Evander Holyfield is disorganizing Tyson.
The only round that belonged to Tyson was the fifth, when he finally landed some clean blows, including his trademark left hook left uppercut combination, which momentarily discouraged the challenger. But Evander had already established the dominant pattern of the fight, pushing Tyson back in the many clinches, bullying the bully, and immediately countering with hard shots on the rare occasions when the champion launched an effective attack.
Only once in 46 fights. Mike Tyson with a straight right hand. Well, Tyson said he's more patient and more disciplined in the ring. He's got all his anger under control in the ring. We'll see if it bears true.
A year prior, Holyfield was knocked out by Riddick Bowe, but today he was stoically eating Tyson's shots that dropped seemingly everyone, stubbornly remaining on his feet. This was the breaking point in the match. It seems that Tyson snapped mentally. Blow after blow, Mike placed all his bets on his unbridled aggression, but his opponent stood firm and continued advancing and countering with powerful shots of his own. Mike didn't know what to do. During the sixth round, the boxers clashed heads, which led to a laceration around Mike's left eye.
Who's cut? Oh, Tyson is cut. Tyson is cut.
Soon after, Holyfield knocked down Tyson with a powerful strike to the chest.
Like the overachieving warrior that he is.
Oh, down goes Tyson. A left hook.
That was a body shot. I think he was a little more balanced.
Evander rushed to finish his opponent and followed the knockdown with several powerful blows to the head. Many spectators were asking themselves, what is even going on? As the seventh round bell rang, it became clear to everyone that Mike was tired, while Holyfield seemingly picked up the second wind, landing powerful combinations one after another. Iron Mike tried to somehow respond, but his strikes didn't seem to faze Holyfield in the slightest.
The headbutt.
That one buckled Tyson. I mean, Tyson actually got a headbutt and hurt.
Ducks his head to not catch a shot, and those heads are just banging. Done. Evander's zeroing in on a big shot.
Tyson is confused, frustrated. He unleashed a flurry there, but Holyfield has always known in the past what tools to bring to a fight, and he's proving it again here. Oh, a straight right hand by Evander Holyfield that shook Tyson momentarily.
He got Mike's attention. Mike's firing back, and now the slugfest ensues.
Coming, but I have him ahead by so much. I have that it's getting to the point where either he gets a knockout or he's going to win this fight.
A right hook followed by a left by Holyfield.
At the end of the 10th round, Holyfield landed a devastating blow through the arm. Instead of saving himself in the clinch, Mike tried to get revenge and ran himself into the second counterstrike. The only thing that saved him from failing this time were the ropes.
Oh, a straight right combination by Holyfield. Holyfield looking to air it out.
Holyfield's unloading. Now he's taking a shot. He's going for it.
Oh, Tyson's in trouble. Holyfield smothers Tyson.
The bell rang, and Evander didn't have time to finish off his opponent, but it was obvious that the fight was over. 35 seconds into the 11th round, the referee wedged himself between the boxers, signaling the victory for Evander Holyfield, who repeated the record of Muhammad Ali, becoming the world champion for the third time.
Continues to dig in. A left hook to the head. He's got Tyson in trouble. Tyson's ready to go. A straight right hand. The Talbot stops the fight, and Holyfield has
I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's the most unbelievable thing I've ever been privileged to witness.
It was an incredible sensation. Iron Mike's boxing career would never be the same after the fight, as he started on a gradual spiral downward. Unfortunately, in this fight and in all that followed, Tyson was a shadow of his former self. The unique skills that he wielded at the end of the 80s were largely lost. That evening, it felt like a mountain had been lifted off my shoulders. Everything I did led me to this fight. Everyone always compared me to Tyson. They told me I couldn't beat him. Everyone has a person in their lives that they have to face to pass the test of life. This was, perhaps, the best fight in the boxing career of Evander Holyfield. This fight still inspires respect. Even decades later, it is one of the best fights of that time. The Ring magazine predictably ranked the Holyfield-Tyson fight as the greatest upset of the year. Tyson received a whopping $30 million for the fight, with Holyfield raking in $11 million. The fight broke all kinds of television ratings and brought truckloads of cash to its organizers. Everyone wanted to know what happened next.
One of the strategies was not to go backwards at all. I kind of felt that in all the fights that Tyson always had, people that went backwards were always in trouble.
We collided heads, and from that point on, I really didn't know basically anything that happened.
The contract for the first fight between Holyfield and Tyson included a clause that stipulated that in the event of Holyfield beating Tyson, a rematch would have to be held. So, to the public's delight, the long-awaited fight between the two heavyweights was announced for June 28, 1997. The crowd's expectations were even greater this time around. With the first fight bringing in a tidy profit of $100 million, the second fight managed to handily cruise past that number to a whopping $200 million. That just goes to show you how much hype there was surrounding the fight. Tyson was promised a guaranteed payout of $30 million, and Holyfield, being the victor of the first match and standing champion, a payout of $35 million. Tyson still seemed to be the favorite going into the match, but this time the odds were placed at only 2-1 against Holyfield. One of the key factors of the fight that many felt should have worked in Iron Mike's favor was the replacement of Mitch Halpern as a referee from the first fight. According to Tyson's team, this ref was the key reason for their boxer's disastrous previous performance, stating that he allowed Holyfield to work too much in the clinch and often turned a blind eye to Evander's dirty antics, like headbutts. The referee chosen to replace Mitch was none other than the legendary Mills Lane. The replacement of the referee, according to Tyson's team, should have helped Mike more easily win in his favorite style, and already in the first few minutes, Mills Lane showed that any clinch attempts would be severely suppressed.
The first fight is almost palpable. Here we go, fight 2, round 1. A straight right by Mike Tyson, shrugged off by Evander Holyfield.
Mike came in with the same thing, a 1-2, looking to go over the jab.
And a lot of movement by Tyson, which we did not see in the first fight.
At the start of the first round, it seemed to everyone that this was a completely different fight. Mike started the second fight just as he did the first, with a right cross, but Holyfield successfully dodged it. Then Evander followed with several jabs, but the first real hit belonged to Tyson. And although his left hook slightly glanced, Holyfield still felt it. At the end of the first round, Holyfield managed to conduct a successful attack, and the first round went to the champion.
Tyson with a left hook to the head of Holyfield.
He hurt Mike really good with that right hand. I'll tell you what though, Mike hit him back with a left hook. This is going to be a war.
What a first round.
He was in trouble there. He shook. Tyson, he shook.
Not long into round 2, a cut opened above Tyson's right eye, marking the second time in 2 fights that an accidental headbutt would inflict a handicap on the former champion. And this time, One could see the visible frustration in Tyson's eyes as he frequently looked over at referee Mills Lane, hoping he might take the kind of action Mitch Halpern had failed to take against Evander in the first fight. But Mills imposed no sanctions on the defending champion, ruling the headbutt accidental and allowing Holyfield to continue with his roughhouse antics on the inside.
That reopened.
Well, one thing is different. He has now got pressure on him, and he's just started this fight.
And again, just like in the first fight, Tyson looks over for help from the referee.
I think he was complaining about a low blow there. I didn't see a blow go south of the border, but that's what he's complaining about, I think.
After the end of the fourth, they go to the card. Holyfield digging in with uppercuts to the body, now going upstairs, looking for the cut.
Evander is beating Mike to the punch, and he's making Mike pay.
Late in the round, with Holyfield pushing Tyson backward in a clinch, Mike twisted his opponent's arm in what appeared to be an attempt to disable the champion. But Tyson didn't get the reaction he was looking for as Evander manhandled Mike in return, shoving him off and showing little regard for the challenger's flagrant foul. When the bell rang to end the round, Tyson's body language suggested capitulation as he looked to touch gloves. In general, it seems that Tyson's entourage and team didn't do their homework after the first fight. Undoubtedly, the referee allowed Holyfield to get away with too much, but it was obvious to everyone that was not the only problem. Iron Mike wasn't ready, neither physically nor mentally. Finally, the bell rang to signal the beginning of the legendary third round that forever entered the halls of the history of boxing.
Get started.
Round two, very bad for Tyson with that bad cut. Pushed away by Holyfield. Again, showing his strength. A sense of urgency here by Tyson.
And that's the old Tyson we know.
That's the Mike Tyson.
Bobbing and weaving.
If he can keep that up for the whole round, he could even this thing out as far as intentions. He's got to show he's got it. He's got to bring it.
He has to reverse what's going on here. Momentum's still with Evander.
As the round started, an enraged Tyson picked up the pace and left practically no chance for his opponent. While all could see the visible anger and frustration in Tyson's eyes, no one could have ever predicted what would follow. With 40 seconds left in the third round, an event occurred that shocked the entire sports world. During a clinch, Holyfield once again dangerously lowered his head, which infuriated Mike even more. So Tyson proceeded to bite off Evander's right ear.
What happened here?
He got bit, I think.
Evander Holyfield, look out! He's pushed right here, above us by Tyson.
He's got bit in the ear.
Oh my goodness, he's got a bloody right ear. Holyfield bit by a dirty Mike Tyson.
I can't believe what I'm seeing.
Well, first he had a parachute drop on him, now he had a heavyweight behind him.
Mills Lane took 2 points off Tyson, who in turn tried to explain to the referee that he didn't bite anyone and that Holyfield was gushing blood because they clashed heads. Mills didn't believe a word of it and famously proclaimed bullshit.
Bullshit! It's gonna cost him 2 points. 2 points. 2 points off here.
The audience was shocked. The doctor examined Holyfield's wound and decided to allow the fight to continue. But Tyson's thirst for blood was not quenched. So not even 3 seconds into the continuation of the fight, he once again bit Holyfield, this time his left ear.
He did it again! Mike Tyson has bitten Evander Holyfield for the second time, and it is all out war.
I saw that one. That was right clear. It's a miracle he didn't get bit back.
I'll tell you what, this is unbelievable.
The referee didn't notice it, so the fight went on. Once the bell rang to signal the end of the round, Holyfield walked to his corner, showing the referee that Tyson once again bit him. As soon as Mills Lane noticed the bite marks, he instantly stopped the fight and disqualified Iron Mike. Hearing the news, Mike very literally went mad, attacking everyone in his way in a bizarre attempt to get at Holyfield, inciting an unprecedented scene of bedlam as countless security guards worked to restrain Tyson, some of them receiving heavy blows for their efforts.
The police are coming in by the squad here, and they're still fighting in there.
It's a fiasco in the ring. People are jumping above us. trying to get in there. There's the security trying to hold Tyson back.
This is the most unbelievable spectacle I have ever seen.
With the fight long past its conclusion, fans were nevertheless still on the edge of their seats, taking in the bizarre spectacle and waiting to see what an unhinged Mike Tyson might do next.
Why did you stop the fight? Because of the first bite on the ear or the second?
The second one. The first one was a foul. I took 2 points. The doctor said he could continue. So let it continue. And he beat him on the other ear. I told him, I said, one more time like that, that's it. You're gone. I told them both. Knocked the rough stuff up. And he bit him again. I said, that's it, you're gone.
As Holyfield leaves the ring, the condition of the ear, could he have continued? And did you disqualify him because of the foul or because he couldn't continue?
Oh, no, I disqualified Tyson for the second foul. I told him, do not do that again. You do, you're gone.
Why did you do that, though, Mike? I mean, was that the proper response?
Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. I got to go home and my kids are going to be scared of me. Look at me, man.
What are you going to do now in terms of your career, Mike? Will you continue to fight? Okay.
After the chaos, it took Tyson several days to announce that he was sorry and that he didn't know why he did it. But the apologies were not enough. The boxing committee fined Mike $3 million and revoked his boxing license for 15 months. The defeat ended the post-prison phase of Tyson's career, where he had recaptured his image as the baddest man on the planet and appeared to once again be arguably the best heavyweight in the world. Returning to the ring in 1999, Tyson was a worse version than even his post-prison self. But that in no way took away from his popularity, which grew even further after his fights with Holyfield. Summing up the epic second fight, I would like to say that even though the fight consisted of only 3 rounds, they were 3 incredibly intense and magnificent. Tyson was excellent in the 3rd round, and who knows how the fight would have ended should Iron Mike have kept his composure. Other boxers that fought Holyfield stated that his headbutts were not accidents, but none of them resorted to what Tyson did. But we should still give Holyfield the respect he deserves. Even without his dirty tricks, he was magnificent. Mike and Evander did not talk to each other for a long time. There were just too many bad things Evander heard about himself besides the bitten-off ear. But eventually, Holyfield forgave Tyson, and now they are friends. Together, they participate in TV shows and documentaries, and nostalgically talk about the glorious times when they created the history of professional boxing. Right now, you wouldn't be able to tell that a couple of decades ago they wanted to practically rip each other apart in the ring.
My ear. I kept having formaldehyde